welcome to a rather damp morning in Roscommon, which I guess is quite fitting because today we're going to talk about waterproof jackets. So what actually makes a jacket waterproof, or a pair of trousers, or whatever we're talking about? The waterproof layer is a membrane, a literal extra layer in your jacket that prevents the water getting through. Pretty simple when you say it like that, actually. So when you're buying a jacket, how do you know how waterproof a jacket is? So depending on the make of jacket you're buying, it will have a specific waterproof membrane, and that membrane will have gone through a hydrostatic head test. So this is where they take the membrane, they put a large cylinder of water above it, and they fill the cylinder with water, and over 24 hours judge or kind of gather the data of how much water seeps through the membrane in that time. So it's all about water, pressure and volume against the membrane. And so then they come out with these numbers, and they're kind of ballpark figures for kind of different categories, I guess, of rain jacket. So if you're buying a jacket, on the tags it will give in the 1,000 milliliter units a waterproof level. So for me, waterproof technically starts at 1,500 millimeters. For me, anything below 5,000 is just going to be able to deal with a very light kind of passing shower. This is for your kind of summer jacket in the city where you don't actually mind getting wet. Anything below 5,000, very lightly waterproof. Anything from kind of 5 to kind of 10 is then able to kind of withstand some showers. But if I'm looking for a hiking jacket, I'm looking for a 10,000 as my lowest option, minimum of 10,000. These numbers can go all the way to 20,000 or more maybe at this point. I've never seen a jacket above 20. So this is going to be the milliliters of water that we're able to stand on top of this membrane without it seeping through for 24 hours. And of course, different brands use different membranes. So a lot of Irish people in particular will have heard of Gore-Tex. So they might walk into a shop looking for a Gore-Tex jacket. Gore-Tex themselves are the membrane. So they are the people who give you the stamp of approval to say that this membrane is waterproof. So Berghaus, Rab, the North Face, all these different brands will have Gore-Tex jackets because Gore-Tex is a recognised standard of waterproofness within the industry. All these brands will also have their own waterproof membranes, and these jackets will often come in cheaper because they are not licensing the Gore-Tex seal of approval membrane stamp for their jackets, and can often be just as waterproof. So when you're looking at the tags on the jacket, you're looking for the waterproofness in the thousands of mils, and if you're looking for a hiking jacket in Ireland, you don't want anything below 10,000, and ideally an extra 1,000 or 2 on top of that is great. When people are looking for also breathable waterproof jacket, the reason for that is that if none of the water inside is able to move out again, that means that as you sweat, your sweat can't go anywhere and it gets very clammy and damp. So kind of lower end jackets might meet that waterproof standard, but they mightn't have that same breathability layer. So their membranes will stop the water any direction, whereas slightly more advanced membranes will stop the rain coming in from one side, but will kind of have a funnel system to let the water vapor of your sweat exit. Now, breathable is only up to a point. It's 100% more, or it's amazing, 1,000% more breathable than a non-breathable jacket. But don't think that buying a breathable jacket means that there isn't going to be a single bead of sweat on you. It's through you sweating and kind of creating that body heat and creating the water vapor that the water vapor pushes out through the jacket. So you do have to sweat to make the kind of breathable feature kick in and kind of let some of that water vapor escape. So what are some other features you might be looking at on your waterproof jacket? Well, first off, we have taped seams, which I have on this jacket. So if you see these black lines here, the kind of running down between the grey and the green, this is a taped seam, or a sealed seam, I think is another phrase used for it. So this is basically, the idea is that when you're stitching the fabric together, this is a weak point on the jacket. So either there's holes from the sewing, or the water can kind of like run along that seam and slowly seep through. So by kind of sealing it with this waterproof tape over the seams, it's preventing that seam seepage. How many times can I say a word with S? This jacket in particular actually is quite interesting. It's a Columbia jacket, and they use an out-dry membrane for their waterproofing. So most traditional waterproof jackets will have layers. They'll have their outer shell layer, they'll have their waterproof membrane, and then maybe they'll even have another layer in between that to kind of protect the waterproof membrane from you and your skin and your jumpers. So that's a 3-layer jacket. Out-dry uses a bonded heat method to kind of laminate the outside of the jacket with their waterproof membrane. So it's kind of supposed to kind of cut down on layers, be more breathable, be more waterproof. Whether or not it's more or less, I don't know, but I really do like it as a concept and as a working jacket. Technically this is Carl's. I have used it from time to time, as he has a second jacket, and my black jacket there I've had for many years, and I've had to replace a few of the zips, and I've had to re-wash it. Oh yes, so we'll get on to washing in a minute, but basically that jacket has come to the end of its life. That does happen. So I am on the hunt for a new jacket at the moment, basically. But anyway, so on this one we have our taped seams, our taped zips as well. So any of these kind of like points that might be a weakness on this jacket, the seams are, the zips are actually taped, but it also has a feature that jackets that have non-taped zips would employ. So you'd zip up your pocket or whatever, and it has this extra flap of waterproof material kind of hiding away the seam. So that's a way to kind of a more low-cost way, instead of having to get these specially designed zips. If they put a flap of extra fabric across the zip instead, it's kind of a different way of trying to protect your pockets from being waterproof, or kind of cover up that area of possible least resistance. Both of these jackets have pit zips. So pit zips aren't for everybody. I quite like them. They do what they say on the tin. It is a hole that you can open up in your armpit. So on me, they typically go from about here to here. I'm not particularly tall. I think on other people they're probably a bit shorter. And I find them really useful for those days where it's just kind of generally wet. It's not sideways rain, it's just wet all day, and I'm hiking or whatever, and I just need some extra ventilation. So opening this under your arm, more often than not, rain is falling downwards, so you can kind of give yourself a little bit of ventilation under your arms where the openings are a little bit hidden, and yeah, get that ventilation without getting too wet as well. Especially if you're doing kind of a high energy sport, you definitely need that kind of like instant ventilation to for all your sweat and your heat to escape from, while also kind of keeping the main part of you dry as possible. Obviously, opening up a hole, some water might get in, but it's a kind of a balancing trade-off. The next feature I always look for on a jacket is how big the hood is and what the kind of features the hoods have, or the hood has. Anyway. So You can see here I've got this hood kind of elasticated in quite a bit. So on the sides it has a little kind of plastic cinch, so that I can, when I'm wearing the hood, I can pull it right down with these little drawstrings and cinch in the hood around my face. It has quite a structured brim. It's not, some of them can be like very, very stiff, quite peaked, so it doesn't flop down in your face when you're walking, or doesn't blow back as easily. It has a structure to it, which can be great for Irish winter hiking. Or some of them are just not super deep. So I always put up the hood when I'm trying it on. I have quite a lot of hair, so an extra deep hood means that no matter what way I have my hair tied up, if it's in a ponytail and it kind of pushes the hood back a small bit, it's still going to cover my face. There's also simple things like the number of pockets a jacket has. Some jackets might have some inner pockets, some might just have the two outer, some might have a taped one on your arm. So it's all about kind of thinking about how many pockets you would like to have, or you think are reasonable. In general, I like to go for a slightly longer cut of jacket. No matter what jacket you're wearing, the water is going to run off the end. So I kind of like to make sure that my jacket at least goes below my upper layers, and normally I kind of get ones that go to like somewhere in my upper thigh region. The water will still drip off of the jacket onto my trousers, so if you go the waterproof trousers route, or if you go the super light and therefore faster drying trousers route, that's a whole other topic. But yeah, so when you're looking for a jacket, you want to make sure that it is properly waterproof, which means it's going to be a hard shell jacket. It's going to have at least, for Irish weather, at least 10,000 millimetre of a hydrostatic head, so at least 10,000 millimetres in waterproofing. Ideally, even go a little bit higher if you can. Gore-Tex jackets are one way of knowing that a jacket is waterproof, but all brands have their own waterproof membranes as well, so it's worth checking out what the differences are. E-Vent for the North Face, I think are meant to be a very, very breathable membrane, but I think the jacket needs to be washed more often. Speaking of washing jackets, you can wash your waterproof jacket. I have a whole video about going through the step-by-step process of while I wash my jackets, which I'll link in the description. But basically, after time, the pores of the jacket might get clogged with dirt, it all kind of stretches out. So by washing it with a waterproof jacket special wash and then spraying on a new kind of water repellency layer afterwards is really, really, really great way to kind of recondition your jacket and make it go that little bit longer. All of my jackets get washed. I've fallen amok enough, and I try and get the longest life I can out of them. Make sure to put up the hood when you're trying on your jacket to make sure it is the right shape and size for you, and look at the different features the hood might have, such as a structured peak, and figure out how to cinch the hood down around your face so it doesn't get blown back off your head. Look to see if the seams are taped or not, whether or not you need taped or sealed seams. Entirely depends on you, how intense a hike or an adventure you're planning, and what the weather will be like at the time of year that you're going to be using the jacket the most. It's not a necessity, it's just a good thing to know about, so that you can consider jackets when you're holding two different jackets and there's €100 in the price difference. These are the kind of things that are going to separate those prices. Your pockets are either going to have taped zips or sealed zips, or look for pockets that have that little extra flap of fabric to cover them over so that the water doesn't seep through that weak point. Another extra feature might be your pit zip, which I quite enjoy for when we're doing really sweaty hiking in the summer where it's raining a lot. It kind of lets me let off some steam, but definitely not a feature that everybody might enjoy. At the end of all our videos, we like to say a huge thank you to our patrons. They are the ones who make these videos possible and make this whole project possible. So thank you so much to people who support us on Patreon. This week, I'd like to say a special thank you to Lucas and Hallie Dubendorfer, to Susan Blazer, and to Michael Quinn. Thank you guys so much for supporting these videos. It's fantastic and I really appreciate it. So that's my very basic rundown of what to look for on the tag of a waterproof jacket when you're buying a jacket, what it actually means to be waterproof, And yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will try and answer as much as I can. If you have any tips about waterproof jackets, also put them down there. And yeah, I'll see you in our next video, I guess. When you see this video, we are probably in Frankfurt, celebrating our 8-year anniversary by doing a non-hiking holiday for a change. Okay.